Hola y bienvenidos a otra clase de inglés con Richard. Hoy, olvidé, this class is supposed to be in English because this is level B2. So if you don't understand English, then you need to, you shouldn't be in this class basically. I have another class, another live class, which is beginner level. But this class is upper intermediate, so it's quite advanced. So everything is going to be in English, everything in this level and the previous level. So before we start, let's see who we have in the chat. I've got Irma. Hi, Irma. How are you? You can join the class, Irma, if you wish. I've got Rena. I've got Adrian. Hi. So the subject today is two new tenses. Well, they're not new tenses. They've been around a long time, but they are tenses that I haven't covered before in any level. So let me just get the screen and then we'll see the new tenses. I need to share this. I think this one here. So the new tenses. Actually, the last class that I did, I don't remember when the last class was at this level. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I think I did one after Christmas. So this is class 11. So today what we're going to be looking at is two tenses that we haven't seen before. Those two tenses are the future perfect and the future perfect continuous. These two sentences are very similar. So this table I showed you in the last class because this table represents all the tenses in English. There are only 12 tenses in English. And here we have all the 12 tenses. We have the present simple, the past simple, the future simple, have the present continuous, the past continuous, the future continuous, present perfect, past perfect, and future perfect, which is one of the tenses we're looking at today, and present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, and future perfect continuous. So these are all these other tenses I have covered in other videos. These are the only two tenses. These are the last two tenses that students generally learn, probably because these two tenses are not used too often. The tense we saw in the last class was this one, I will be speaking, which was the future continuous. Today we're looking at the future perfect, I will have spoken, and the future perfect continuous. Very similar, these two tenses. So let's begin with an example. First of all, the future perfect. By the time you arrive, I will have finished writing the report. Sorry, this is a mistake actually. That one there is a future perfect continuous. And the other one, oh, sorry, no, I'm confused. I'm confusing myself. Sorry. That's the future perfect. No, the problem is here. This is the future perfect continuous. So by the time you arrive, I will have finished. This is an example of the, I have my font thing. This is an example of the future perfect. See if I can get that up there. Yeah, this one. And this time next year, I will have been working. I will have been working. This is an example of the future perfect continuous. Okay, let's have a look at the structure of these two tenses. So first of all, let's do the future perfect. So in order to form the future perfect, we need to have, first of all, in the affirmation or the statement, sorry, statement is English, affirmación is Spanish. We need the subject, I, you, he, she, it, or they, followed by will have or won't have. So we're going to use the modal verb will or the negative won't plus the auxiliary verb have. In all the perfect tenses, we need to use the auxiliary verb have. And this is followed by the past participle of the main verb. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 examples of past participles. Worked and danced, finish with ed, so they are regular verbs. And eaten, slept, run, and done are irregular verbs. So examples of the present, of the future perfect would be I will have worked, you will have eaten, he will have slept. It doesn't change for the person. It's the same for the he, she. She won't have run. It won't have eaten or worked. Maybe it's a better one with that example. And they won't have danced. To form the question, so here we have the positive and the negative. To form the negative, we use won't. And to form the question, first of all, we need a question word, if there is one. If it's a yes or no question, we don't need a question word. First of all, we need a question word. Yeah, I'm just checking in the chat. I will work. Yeah, Nydia, you're missing the have in this tense. You always need the have. Yeah. So the question word. Now here, like all questions, we need to put the auxiliary verb will or won't for the negative before the subject. We need to change the order. Where will you have worked? Is an example. When will he have eaten? Where, I don't have where in the question words, but where will she have slept? Actually, there's a spelling mistake there because slept only has one E, sorry. So this is how we form the future perfect tense. So when do we use the future perfect tense? Well, we've already seen before two other perfect tenses. We've seen the present perfect, I have eaten. We've seen the past perfect, I had eaten. And now we have this new one, which is the future perfect, I will have eaten. So these three tenses are used in a similar way. We use the future perfect to say that something will be ended or completed or achieved by a particular point in the future. So it's like going forward in time and looking back. Going forward in time and looking back. So if you remember, here's some examples. The past perfect. At 1 p.m. yesterday, I had eaten. What that means with the past perfect is that I ate before 1 p.m. yesterday, and at 1 p.m. yesterday, I had finished eating. Well, that example, I had finished, is also in the past perfect. And if I say to you, I've eaten now, or I have eaten now, it means I ate in the past and now I have finished eating. I'm not hungry because I have eaten. But if I want to go forward in the future and say at 1 p.m. tomorrow, and then say, I will have eaten, it means I ate before 1 p.m. tomorrow, and at 1 p.m. I will have eaten. The result is I won't be hungry. So it's like going forward in time and looking at an action which will be completed before that time in the future. In this case, the time in the future is 1 p.m. tomorrow. And I could say to you now, this class at 5 o'clock, this class will have finished. So I'm looking forward to 5 o'clock. Right now it's 16:11. It's 4:11. I'm looking forward to 5 o'clock. And I'm saying at that point in time, this class will be in the past. It's like the past of the future. Now, always with the with when we use will, we use the same contractions. So instead of saying I will have worked, you will have worked, we say I'll have worked, you'll have worked, he'll have worked, she'll have worked, we'll have worked, and they'll have worked. We're going to use the contractions. So this is a future perfect. Sometimes people say the future perfect simple or just the future perfect. Now, the future perfect continuous is very similar in its use. So let's have a look now at the other tense, which is the future perfect continuous. So to form the future perfect continuous, we need the subject, as before. We also need will have or won't have, as we did before with the future perfect. But the next thing is different. We need the past participle of the verb be, which is been. And that is followed by the present participle. So examples of the future perfect continuous are I will have been working. You will have been eating. Um, he will have been sleeping. She won't have been running. They won't have been dancing. Again, in the question, it's the same. We need to change the order of the words and we put the auxiliary, the modal verb will, before the subject. Before the subject. So let me just move this because that's. Oh, now the other ones. Hi, Emma. Can you hear me? Oh, now the bean is wrong. Well, let's not worry about that because I can't get it right. It's have been. I can't hear you, Emma. I think I need to adjust it all here to get that in. That's it. So this is how we form the tense. Oh, I can't get this to get all the letters in. There, done it. When will you have been working? Maybe it's a strange question to ask, but this is the structure. So this is like before. With the future perfect, we have the present perfect continuous. I have been working for activities that started in the past and continue till now. And the past perfect continuous is for activities that started at some point in the past and continued until another point in the past. And the future perfect continuous is the same. It's going forward in time and looking back and saying that this activity occurred before the time in the future. So like the future perfect simple or the future perfect, I've just called it simple there um, to make it clear that it's the other one. This form is used to project ourselves forward in time and to look back. The difference between is that there is emphasis on the activity and not on the result of the activity. There it should say the difference between the future perfect or maybe I should just say the difference. Yeah, it's okay like that. I take out that. The difference is that here the emphasis on the activity. So this is the same with all of the perfect and perfect continuouses. If I say I have been, what's a better example? Yeah, I have been working. I am focusing, I'm talking about, this is in the present perfect continuous. I have been working. If I say I have been working, It means that I've been working from the past until now, and the activity stops now or could go on in the future. But the important thing is if I use the continuous and say, I have been working, I am concentrating on the activity. But if I say, I have worked all day and now I'm tired, what I'm concentrating is on the result of the activity, the situation now. So it's the same difference with the future perfect and the future perfect continuous, only we're talking about a different time. We're talking about the future. I got three examples here. Last year, I had been working there for a year. Past perfect continuous. Today, I have been working here for 2 years. Maybe I should say here, working here. Next year, I will have been working here for 3 years. Yeah, I'll change them all to here to make it clear. So last year, a point in time in the past, I started working before that. 1 year ago, I'd been working there for 1 year. And today, I've been working here for 2 years. In 1 year, I will have been working here for 3 years. So notice here too that the actual activity starts in our past because it started 2 years ago and continues until now and will continue into the future. And I'm looking back on the past. Okay, Irma, can you hear me? I don't think you've got any sound. Let's check the chat. So who have we got? Austria, hi. Nydia, hi. Yeah, you will eat, Nydia. That is the future simple. No, here I have worked. Yeah, that's the future. That's the present perfect. Nydia, you will have worked. Yeah, that's the present. That's the future perfect. If anyone's got any questions, you can ask them in the chat. All I've got now, I think, is just some examples and then some questions. So I've got some examples here. First of all, time expressions. Time expressions. With these tenses, we're talking about the future, so there always needs to be some time reference that the speaker and the listener know what time we're talking about, or if not, we need to give a time reference. Very often, we're going to use the preposition by tomorrow, by 8 o'clock with these tenses. By plus a time in the future. For example, by 5 o'clock, this class will have finished. So by tomorrow, by next year, by 2022. This year, I could say this year, I will have been living in Mexico for 20 years. No, 19 years, sorry. This year, I will have been living in Mexico for 19 years. This year, I'm talking about in September because I arrived in Mexico in September 2001. This month, I will have lived in this house for 6 months. It's this month now. It's now, but this month is not ended yet. So basically, I'm looking forward in the future. But also could use next year, next month. Next year, I will have lived in Mexico for 20 years. Or I could probably better to say in this case, next year I will have been living in Mexico because it's more of an activity. But you could use, sometimes you could use either. Sometimes you can use the future perfect or the future perfect continuous without really much difference in meaning. For 5 hours, yeah, but I think here we can use for or since like we can in the other perfect tenses. For with a period of time and since from a point in time. For example, next year I will have been living in Mexico for 20 years. Or next year I will have been living in Mexico since 2002. 2021. Sorry, 2001, since 2001. Okay, so you're always going to have a time expression in the future. Um, who's got some questions? Anybody? Nobody. So let's have a look at some examples. When you get home, I'll have finished cleaning the house. So the first one is first of all, we have the time reference, which is when you get home. So this is a point in time in the future. Another point to make here is that notice after this time reference when, the verb get, okay, that here means arrive, because get has many different meanings, and I think my last video was about get. Here get means arrive. Get is in the present tense even though it refers to the future, because this is a time clause, and when we have when, we always put the verb in the present simple, even though it refers to the future. And here we have the main clause, I'll have finished. This is future perfect because here I want to focus on the result. The result is that I will have finished cleaning the house. The house will be clean. But in the other example, I could also say, when you get home, I'll have been cleaning the house for 2 hours. In this case, I'm focusing on the activity, that I was performing this activity of cleaning for 2 hours. So this is the difference between the future perfect and the future perfect continuous. In this example, we really need to use the continuous. I will have been waiting here for 3 hours by 6 o'clock. Here we're talking about the activity. Next month, I'll have lived in London for 4 months. I will have been living in London for 4 months. Not much difference here. I think with this type of statement, it's probably better to use this one, the continuous one. I'll have been living here for 4 months. When I finish this course, I'll have been studying English for 2 years. Will have been studying. Future perfect continuous, focusing on the activity. When I finish this course, I will have learned to speak perfect English. This time, same statement, but focusing on the result of the studying or this course. So this one is focusing on the result. This one is focusing on the activity. Future perfect continuous, future perfect. Looking forward in the future to the point where I will finish this course, and then looking back. Some more examples. We will have done the shopping before you come home. Again, this time clause here with before works in the same way as the one we saw up there with when. So you notice that again the verb come is in the present simple. In this type of time clause, this is another subject, but this is an upper intermediate class, so we can deal with those subjects too. When you get home, so here it's not when you will get home, no, it's when you get home. It's in the future, before you come home, not before you will come home. The movie will have finished by the time you arrive, using the preposition by and a time in the future. He will have finished his homework before the class starts. All of these too, I mean, here I've put will, but normally we should be using the contractions. And we should say, we'll have done the shopping before you come home. The movie will have finished. A bit difficult to say that one, but people would say that. The movie will, maybe people wouldn't say that. Let me just check it again. The movie will have finished. Yeah, even I can't say it. The movie, yeah, I think there we can't use the contraction. Yeah, or I can't use the contraction because of the E on the end. The movie will have finished by the time you arrive. he'll have finished his homework before the class starts. I'll have been here for 6 months on June the 23rd. By the time you read this in the future, I'll have left. If anyone has any questions, you can ask in the chat. I don't have anyone. I do have one person in the conference, but they don't seem to have any sound. Irma, what happened to your sound? You will have finished your report by this time next week. Again, here we would definitely use a contraction. Won't they have arrived by 5? Will you have eaten when I pick you up? Okay, examples. I think that's all the examples I've got. All I've got now is some questions. I don't have anyone in the conference. I have one person in the conference, but they are not, they don't seem to have any sound. So let's see in the chat then. Who's in the chat? Remember, if you want to join the conference, you can join my channel. Click on the $sign below the video and you can join my channel. Level Platter. Hi Emma, do you have sound? Hi. Emma, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad, not too good. Yeah.
Not too, what happened? Are you sick or something?
Not too bad, not too good.
Are you ready for these questions?
I don't know.
So we've got to put here, we've got statements. We've got to put the verb. The verb here is drive. We need to put the verb into the correct tense. What's happened to this? Hold on. See if I can make this bigger. Yeah, I'm just going to stop this share for a minute because it's got a green line on it. That's better. Still got a green line on it. Oh no. Okay, so in each one we have a verb. The first one is drive. By the time we get to London, you've got to put this verb in one of the two tenses that we've seen today, which will be the present, the future perfect or the future perfect continuous. So who can put it in the, or if anyone in the chat?
Hello.
Hi, yeah.
But the
I got one answer in the chat from Fanny Vidal. Oh, go on then, you try then, Irma.
By the time we get to London, we'll have driven more than 3 hours.
Yeah, okay. Well, first of all, the pronunciation of drive is in past participle. I can't think I can write here actually. Where can I write? Let's try down here. Let's know what's happened. Maybe here. No, can't write. It's gone there. Oh, maybe I can put it down here. Hold on. Let's get back on here. Yeah, drive. The past is drove and the past participle is driven. The pronunciation is driven. So yeah, you put it in the, that's good. Yeah, we'll have driven for more than 3 hours, but because it's an activity, it's probably better to say, as Fanny Vidal in the chat says, we'll have, what's happened? We'll have been driving. This is better because it's an activity. We'll have driven for 3 hours. It's possible, but it's much more likely in this case because it's an activity. And we're talking about the activity that we're going to use the future perfect continuous, because the future perfect simple is more about the result. So number 2, when Mike goes to Germany next month, he
German.
when Mike goes to Germany next month, and
He
Fanny
will
has
be
a, sorry.
speaking German.
Well, you got to use the verb study.
He will be studying German.
He'll be studying German is future continuous. That's the tense we saw in the previous class. Here we want to use the future perfect continuous. He'll have been studying.
Okay.
And Fanny Bidal has the
Okay.
correct answer in the chat. He'll have been studying German for, I think there should be there for 2 years. What happened to that? Hold on, the view is messed up. Let's try and get it back here. Yeah. For over 2 years. He'll have been studying German for over 2 years. Number 3, I visit the Grand Canyon and San Francisco by the time I leave the United States. This time the verb is visit. Visit. Irma, are you thinking? Or anybody in the chat, if you've got the answer in the chat on YouTube.
I will have been. I will have. Um, I
Yeah,
don't know.
Fanny says that's not correct, Fanny. No. Because you've got 2 past participles, been and visited. So I'm just answering one. There's one answer in the chat and it's incorrect, Irma. What's your answer, Irma?
I had visit the Grand Canyon and San Francisco by the time
Yeah, you've got to put it in the
I
future
we have
perfect.
lived. We have lived.
No, the verb that we want to put in the tense is visit. Visit. This is the verb that we need to use. Visit. Put the verb visit in one of the 2 tenses, future perfect or future perfect continuous.
Future perfect.
First of all, you need to choose which one you're going to use. So we got an answer in the chat from Fanny, and it's the correct answer. The correct answer is I'll have visited. Future perfect. We want to use the simple here because we're talking about something which is completed, two separate visits. We can't really use the continuous because that's for like a continuous activity. So this phrase is said by a person who is visiting the United States at this current time and has 2 more weeks in the United States. And that person says, I'll have visited the Grand Canyon and San Francisco by the time I leave, which is in the future. By the time you finish this class, actually this I put the past participle here. This should, and I put this should be in the present tense. You
You
learn all
will
12.
have learned.
Yeah, you will have.
All.
Yeah, that's interesting actually because you'll have learnt or learned because actually that verb has.
Learned. Yeah.
I say learnt. I think it's one of those verbs that has 2 past participles. I thought in the US they say learned, but I'm not sure. In England we say learnt, but I have heard native speakers say learned. So it's a tense that has 2 past participles. It's like got. The past participle, sorry, get. The past participle of get in England is got, but in the United States it's gotten. There aren't many differences grammatically between American English and British English, but there are a few small differences. So by the time you finish this class, you will have learnt or will have learned. Both are correct, all 12 tenses. Number 5, drive faster. If you don't hurry up, she have the baby by the time we get to the hospital. It's not easy. No, it's not easy. It's This is upper intermediate.
She
I
will
was
have been.
learning. Sorry, Irma.
Um,
She will.
she will have been. mm,
No, she
mm,
will is correct. She'll have.
she will have. She will have.
Yeah, but now you need the main verb, which is also have. Remember, have has two meanings in English. It
Have
has
had.
have
Have
had.
had.
Very good. Yeah,
Have
have
had.
had. She will have had the baby. She will have had the baby because this have is the auxiliary verb, like haber in Spanish, and this verb is the main verb. We say have a baby in English. Have a baby means dar la luz. Have a baby. She'll have had the baby. Future perfect. Number 6. I came to England 6 months ago. I started my economics course 3 months ago. When I returned to Australia, I study for 9 months and I be in England for exactly 1 year. So here we have two. What's the first one? When I return to Australia is in the future. Yeah, Fanny says I will have studied. I think this is better in the continuous because it's an activity. It's not wrong in the I will have studied. Yeah, it definitely sounds better. If you're going to say with a time like 9 months or something like that, it's better to use the continuous. It's not incorrect. It's more a question of style. She will have baby. Yeah, I think Nidia, you've got a long delay. She will have had. Yeah. Have you got any answer, Irma?
Uh, I will have been studying for 9 months.
Yeah, very good. And Fanny also has the correct answer in the chat. I'll have been studying future perfect continuous. And I be in England for exactly. What's this one? Any ideas, Irma?
Mm.
The correct answer is.
By the time she gets here, he will
Yeah,
have been.
we're on this one here, Irma. There were two in this one.
You have
I'm
been.
going to give the answer because Fanny has put the answer in the chat. I'll have been in England for
Oh,
for exactly 1 year. So yeah, in this one I had two. I came to England 6 months ago. I started my economics course 3 months ago. When I returned to Australia, I'll have been studying for 9 months, and I'll have been in England for exactly 1 year. Number 7. Maggie just called and said she would be here at 8 o'clock. Sorry, Margie, not Maggie. But let's change it to Maggie, I think. Maggie just called. I think there's two G's in Maggie. Maggie just called and she said she would be here at 8 o'clock. By the time she gets here, we wait. Any ideas, Irma?
Um,
Future
we'll
perfect or
have,
future perfect
we will
continuous?
have, at the time is here, we will have, um,
Yeah,
wait
very good.
here for 2 hours.
Well, here it's like an activity again. So it's, as Fanny says in the
Activity,
chat,
and then
yeah,
we will have, okay, by the time she gets here, we will have been waiting, yeah.
yeah, very good. And Fanny also has the correct answer. We will have been waiting. Frank just changed jobs again. If he keeps this up, he'd change jobs at least 4 or 5 times by the end of the year. Any ideas? Fanny says he will have been changing. No, we can't do that. If we say something like 4 or 5 times, we can't use continuous tenses with 4 or 5 times with that reference because it's the continuous is for a continuous activity. But if we say 4 or 5 times,
Um,
it's one, two, 4 separate things or 5 separate things. So we can't use the continuous.
it will be, by the time
The verb is
he
change,
will be
Irma.
changing, he will be
He
changing.
will be changing is future continuous that we saw in the last class in this series. This is future perfect or future perfect continuous. We cannot use the future perfect continuous because it says 4 or 5 times. That means, and the future perfect continuous is for a continuous activity. And if it's 4 or 5 times, it's not a continuous activity. It's 4 or 5 separate events. So we
Oh,
need to use the future perfect simple, which is
mm.
he'll have changed jobs at
Oh,
least
yeah.
4 or 5 times. So once again, Fanny has the correct answer. And also Nidia has the correct answer. Well, Nidia Guzman has the correct answer. And Nidia, what's the other Nidia? Lizeth has the incorrect answer. I have, will have changed. You've got too many haves in there. Anyway, what's the next one? Number 8. Frank just changed jobs again. If he keeps this up. Oh, that's the one I just did. Sorry. Let's just put that in yellow. Number 9. Call me at 9. By then, I complete my English homework.
Mm. I'll complete my English work homework.
I'll complete, Emma. That's future simple.
Mm,
Just I will complete. That's future simple. Today we're looking at future perfect or future perfect continuous.
mm. I'll have complete. I'll have
Cassie,
complete.
yeah,
Mm,
the first part is correct. I'll have completed. You need to use,
completed.
yeah, the past participle. This tense is subject, will, auxiliary have, past participle. I'll have completed. The last one, very difficult questions, Irma. The
Mm,
last ones. In June, my grandparents be married for 50
mm,
years.
mm.
This is June this year. I should say June this year because if it was June last year, then it would be in the past. In
Ah,
June,
my grandparents
yes.
will be married.
Will be married is future simple. We're
Oh,
going forward in the future and looking back. So we need to
will
use
will have. Oh yeah, will have mayor. Will have mayor.
will have,
Will have
will
mayor.
will have been, because actually married,
Oh, will
yeah,
have
marry
been.
is a verb, but here we wouldn't use marry. That will have married for 50 years, because we need to use be married, because be married is a state of matrimonial. To marry is casar, es un verbo que significa casarse, in la iglesia. So they won't have been, you can't say they will have married for 50 years, because that means that la ceremonia, I'm speaking Spanish now, it's supposed to be in English, the ceremony would have lasted for 50 years. So we have to say, there's a difference between saying, if we talk about our civil state in English, we have to say I am married. We're using the verb be plus the adjective married. But we can say I'm marrying in the church. But most people don't even say that. They use the verb get and say I'm getting married. So here's another example. Very difficult questions here, Ma. Yeah. And also Fanny says they're difficult questions. So yeah, they are difficult because this is upper intermediate. And if I go back to the beginning of the class, what I started with, um, these are all the tenses in English. This is where I started today. And these two tenses are the last two tenses that are generally taught. The other one that we saw a couple of weeks ago was this one, the future continuous. These three tenses here, future continuous, future perfect, and future perfect continuous, are the last three tenses that are taught. They're more difficult, but also they're not that commonly used, because probably there are other ways of actually avoiding using them. So with that, every tense has been covered. Some of these were at beginner level, some of them were at lower intermediate, some of them were at intermediate, and these three are the last three, and they are at upper intermediate. And with that, we've finished the class today. So thank you very much, Irma.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks to everyone watching on YouTube, and see you soon. Goodbye.
Thank you. Oh,
Yeah, what? Sorry, Irma. Did you have a question? Irma, did you have a question?
okay. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye. Me?